meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.
On the Fringe with Jan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is doing well. This is, of course, Law of One, and we are doing sessions 59 and 60. Oh, this is so fun. Yeah, I'm doing StreamYard this time. We're going to be inviting people at the end of this. It's going to be the people that are in chat. So whoever's in chat, you will have the opportunity to come and hang and ask questions after. So, again, only, I think, 15 people or so can get in. 10 will be on stage in the back, and this will be at the end. So when I go into my final outro, if you will, you guys will have the link shared, and first of you that get in, and some of you drop out, so keep trying maybe, but we're gonna do something fun this time. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. We'll see how long. We'll just see. We've never done this before. We're doing sessions 59 and 60 this week, and I can hear my girlfriend just came in. Hello. I hear you. Anyways, there's a talk of origins of the soul. How many souls came here and from where? And there seems to be like 3 different crazy places that all the souls that are probably alive right now, in fact, have come from. It's an exciting time, right? Wanderers coming and all these different things. So, yeah, this should be a fun one tonight. Also, pyramid energy. There's 3 different types. Think spiral, think 3-dimension. This is tricky. They get a little bit way off into the weeds on this one, but I mean, it's cool as hell. It's true. This dude's a math nut. He also had I think a little bit of a bias. It's funny. I think we cover that more in the 60. But he, I forget Jim. I forget which one it is. Ken, I don't know, whatever. Names suck. They seem to have some kind of they got some pre-programmed beliefs, as best I can tell from what I've studied and everything. And again, being a channel and not having any sort of bias at all is really, really hard. So I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you that, you got to be perfect. I'm just saying there's filters. So it is how it plays out. And then they're talking about the pyramids and the alignments, and I think there's a hint, maybe, I don't know, in between the lines, maybe that there might actually be another pole shift coming at some point. Now, how we deal with that, the way we are able to be and deal with that, I think we got that covered. I really do. So don't sweat it, but I do think there is discussion about it. I think it might be a few years out. I think we've got a lot of things we can do. So again, this is a big part of, I think, why what we're going through with Law of One is specifically important. And by the way, I'm able to share comments and stuff. So I'm just wondering if anything's worth sharing, really. I mean, not unworth, but yeah, we got, it's cool. It's like, hey, look at, well, is it sure or no? I don't see it. Where's it at? There it is. Now it's showing. Look at that. So I can show stuff. Anyway, you guys, we're doing a different game. This is gonna be fun. So we've got everything loaded up and ready to go. I've got session 59. Kind of like I said, talks about the origins of souls, the pyramid energies, realignments. If there's maybe they were correct, then they weren't correct, maybe becoming correct again. I'm talking about the Great Pyramid of Giza. So a lot of fun stuff here. A lot of fun stuff. I hope you guys dig on it. Here is session 59, Law of One. Law of One, session 59, recorded June 25th, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner, could you first tell me the instrument's condition and why she feels so tired? Ra, I am Ra. This instrument's condition is as previously stated. We cannot infringe upon the free will of discussing the latter query. Questioner, would it be any greater protection for the instrument if Jim changed his sitting position to the other side of the bed? Ra, I am Ra. No. Questioner, I have a question from Jim that states, I think I have penetrated the mystery of my lifelong anger at making mistakes. I think I have always been aware subconsciously of my abilities to master new things, but my desire to successfully complete my mission on Earth has been energized by the Orion group into irrational and destructive anger when I fail. Could you comment on this observation? Ra, I am Ra. We would suggest that as this entity is aware of its position as a wanderer, it may also consider what pre-incarnative decisions it undertook to make regarding the personal or self-oriented portion of the choosing to be here at this particular time-space. This entity is aware, as stated, that it has great potential, but potential for what? This is the pre-incarnative question. The work of the sixth density is to unify wisdom and compassion. This entity abounds in wisdom. The compassion it is desirous of balancing has, as its antithesis, lack of compassion. In the more conscious being, this expresses or manifests itself as lack of compassion for self. We feel this is the sum of suggested concepts for thought which we may offer at this time without infringement. Questioner, at the end of the second major cycle, there were a few 100,000 people incarnate on Earth. There are over 4 billion incarnate today. Were the over 4 billion people who are incarnate today, were they in the Earth planes but not incarnate at that time? Or did they come in from elsewhere during the last 25,000-year cycle? Ra, I am Ra. There were 3 basic divisions of origin of these entities. Firstly, and primarily, those of the planetary sphere you call Maldek. Having become able to take up third density once again, were gradually loosed from self-imposed limitations of form. Secondly, there were those of third density entrants or neophytes whose vibratory patterns matched the Terran experiential nexus. These then filtered in through incarnative processes. Thirdly, in the past approximate 200 of your years, you have experienced much visiting of the wanderers. It may be noted that all possible opportunities for incarnations are being taken at this time due to your harvesting process and the opportunities which this offers. Questioner, just to clarify that which you tell me, approximately how many total mind-body-spirit complexes were transferred to Earth at the beginning of the last 75,000-year period? Ra, I am Ra. The transfer, as you call it, has been gradual. Over 2 billion souls are those of Maldek which have successfully made the transition. Approximately 1.9 billion souls have, from many portions of the creation, entered into this experience at various times. The remainder of those who have experienced the first 2 cycles upon this sphere, or who have come in at some point as wanderers, Some wanderers having been in this sphere for many thousands of your years, others having come from more recently. Questioner: I'm trying to understand the three spirals of light in the pyramid shape. I would like to question on each. The first spiral starts below the Queen's chamber and ends in the Queen's chamber. Is that correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is incorrect. The first notion of upward spiraling light is at that of the scoop, the light energy being scooped in through the attraction of the pyramid shape through the bottom or base. Thus, the first configuration is a semi-spiral. Questioner: would this be similar to the vortex you get when you release the water from the bathtub? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct, except that in the case of this action, the cause is gravitic, whereas in the case of the pyramid, the vortex is that of upward spiraling light being attracted by the electromagnetic fields engendered by the shape of the pyramid. Questioner: then the first spiral after this semi-spiral is the spiral used for studying and healing. Relative to the Queen's chamber position, where does this first spiral begin and end? Ra: I am Ra. The spiral which is used for study and healing begins at or slightly below the Queen's chamber position, depending on your earth and cosmic rhythms. It moves through the King's chamber position in a sharply delineated form and ends at the point whereby the top approximate third of the pyramid may be seen to be intensifying the energy. Questioner: now, the first spiral is obviously different somehow than the second and third spirals, since they have different uses and different properties. The second spiral then starts at the end of the first spiral and goes up, I assume, to the apex of the pyramid. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is partially correct. The large spiral is drawn into the vortex of the apex of the pyramid. However, some light energy, which is of the more intense nature of the red, shall we say, end of spectrum, is spiraled once again, causing an enormous strengthening and focusing of energy, which is then of use for building. Questioner: then the third spiral radiates from the top of the pyramid. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. The third complete spiral does so. This is correct. It is well to reckon with the foundation semi-spiral, which supplies the prana for all that may be affected by the three following upward spirals of light. Questioner: now I am trying to understand what happens in this process. I call the first semi-spiral 0 position, and the other three spirals 1, 2, and 3. The first spiral being study and healing. What change takes place in light from 0 position into the first spiral that makes the first spiral available for healing and study? Ra: I am Ra. The prana scooped in by the pyramid shape gains coherence of energetic direction. The term upward spiraling light is an indication, not of your up and down concept, but an indication of the concept of that which reaches towards the source of love and light. Thus, all light, or prana, is upward spiraling, but its direction, as you understand this term, is unregimented and not useful for work. Questioner: could I assume that from all points in space, light radiates in our illusion outward in a 360 solid angle, and this scoop shape with the pyramid then creates the coherence to this radiation as a focusing mechanism? Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is precisely correct. Questioner: then the first spiral has a different factor of cohesion, you might say, than the second. What is the difference between the first and second spiral? Ra: I am Ra. As the light is funneled into what you term the 0 position, it reaches the point of turning. This acts as a compression of the light, multiplying tremendously its coherence and organization. Questioner: then it's the coherence and organization multiplied once more at the start of the second spiral? Is there just a doubling effect or an increasing effect? Ra: I am Ra. This is difficult to discuss in your language. There is no doubling effect, but a transformation across boundaries of dimensions, so that light, which is working for those using it in space-time, time-space configuration, becomes light working in what you might consider an interdimensional time-space, space-time configuration. This causes an apparent diffusion and weakness of the spiraling energy. However, in position 2, as you have called it, much work may be done interdimensionally. Questioner: in the Giza pyramid, there was no chamber at position 2. Do you ever make use of position 2 by putting a chamber in that position, say on other planets or in other pyramids? Ra: I am Ra. This position is useful only to those whose abilities are such that are capable of serving as conductors of this type of focus spiral. One would not wish to attempt to train third density entities in such disciplines. Questioner: then the third spiral radiating from the top of the pyramid, you say, is used for energizing. Can you tell me what you mean by energizing? Ra: I am Ra. The third spiral is extremely full of the positive effects of directed prana, and that which is placed over such a shape will receive shocks energizing the electromagnetic fields. This can be most stimulating in third density applications of mental and bodily configurations. However, if allowed to be in place over long, such shocks may traumatize the entity. Questioner: are there any other effects of the pyramid shape beside the spirals that we have just discussed? Ra: I am Ra. There are several. However, their uses are limited. The uses of the resonating chamber position is one which challenges the ability of an adept to face the self. This is one type of mental test which may be used. It is powerful and quite dangerous. The outer shell of the pyramid shape contains small vortices of light energy which, in the hands of capable crystallized beings, are useful for various subtle workings upon the healing of invisible bodies affecting the physical body. Other of these places are those wherein perfect sleep may be obtained and age reversed. These characteristics are not important. Questioner: what position would be the age reversal position? Ra: I am Ra. Approximately 5 to 10 degrees above and below the Queen's Chamber position in ovoid shapes in each face of the four-sided pyramid, extending into the solid shape approximately 1/4 of the way to the Queen's Chamber position. Questioner: in other words, if I went just inside the wall of the pyramid 1/4 of the way, but still remained 3/4 of the way from the center at approximately the level above the base of the Queen's Chamber, I would find that position? Ra: I am Ra. This is approximately so. You must picture the double teardrop extending in both the plane of the pyramid face and in half towards the Queen's Chamber, extending above and below it. You may see this as the position where the light has been scooped into the spiral and then is expanding again. This position is what you may call the prana vacuum. Questioner: why would this reverse aging? Ra: I am Ra. Aging is a function of the effects of various electromagnetic fields upon the electromagnetic field of the mind-body-spirit complex. In this position, there is no input or disturbance of the fields, nor is any activity within the electromagnetic field complex of the mind-body-spirit complex allowed full sway. The vacuum sucks any such disturbance away. Thus, the entity feels nothing and is suspended. Questioner: is the pyramid shape that Jim has constructed in our yard functioning properly? Is it aligned properly and built properly? Ra: I am Ra. It is built within good tolerance, though not perfect. However, its alignment should be as this resting place for maximum efficacy. Questioner: do you mean that one of the base sides should be aligned 20 degrees east of north? Ra: I am Ra. That alignment would be efficacious. Questioner: previously you stated that one of the base sides should be aligned with magnetic north. Which is better, to align with magnetic north or to align with 20 degrees east of magnetic north? Ra: I am Ra. This is at your discretion. The proper alignment for you of this sphere at this time is magnetic north. However, in your query you ask specifically about a structure which has been used by specific entities whose energy vortices are more consonant with the, shall we say, true color green orientation. This would be the 20 degree east of north. There are advantages to each orientation. The effect is stronger at magnetic north and can be felt more clearly. The energy, though weak, coming from the now distant but soon to be paramount direction is more helpful. The choice is yours. It is the choice between quantity and quality, or wideband and narrowband aid in meditation. Questioner: when the planetary axes realign, will they realign 20 degrees east of north to conform to the green vibration? Ra: I am Ra. We fear this shall be the last question, as this entity rapidly increases its distortions towards what you call pain of the body complex. There is every indication that this will occur. We cannot speak of certainties, but are aware that the grosser or less dense materials will be pulled into conformation with the denser and lighter energies, which gives your logos its proceedings through the realms of experience. May we answer any brief queries at this time? Questioner: only if there is anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra: I am Ra. All is well. We are aware that you experience difficulties at this time, but they are not due to your lack of conscientiousness or dedication. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. Okay, so a number of things pop out on this one, and certainly any questions pop in there, and we will be doing some questions for some of you guys that stick through the whole thing at StreamYard at the end. It'll be kind of fun. But our core, it's like there's an inner part of us. This is the part of us that's like, get up and go. You know, it's like that part of it that no matter what, like you just push through things sometimes. That piece of us is extraordinarily powerful. What it is, we could debate all day like that, but that thing is beyond reproach. It is the I am. It is the power. It is the thing that has to, whenever you got to lift a car, that's where it comes from. They talk about that a little, but there is that component of us. Some of us have experienced it. Some of us maybe not. They talk about where most of the souls have come from. So Maldek, which was the planet out by Mars. I don't know. There's talk that Earth was out there and our orbits changed. I feel like that's a little radical. I don't know. I'm not sure. I do believe that there was two planets close together. I mean, we got an asteroid belt that shows that's where it's at right now. So I feel like, that's solid evidence. But Maldek, Mars, there's a series, I think is the name. There's a chunk of it left still. Many suggest the moon maybe was a vehicle to move things this way. That's a whole different show. Maybe we'll get into those kinds of things down the road. Hopefully, I think. But that's Maldek. The Maldek experience was a problem. So a lot of souls came here. I think 1.7 billion or something. I don't know. And there's 3 distinct groups here of races, if you think about it. I've talked about it before, and I don't mean to try to be mean in any way. It's just the terms they use. But Caucasoids, Negroids, Mongoloids. 3 races that have been used in as far as defining the overall arching groups that are different on this planet. So that's kind of interesting just in and of itself. So they talk about that. They talk about the Earth people that have kind of been here through, well, likely Lumeria, or they say there's a bunch. I don't know. These are the key ones I'm aware of. Lumeria, well, certainly Atlantis. I mean, you could get into like Sumeria, Egypt, and all that. I feel like some of that kind of ties into the Atlantean thing. But yeah, there's been this general progression for at least probably 75,000-ish of our years. So we've had numerous civilizations. Tartaria is a fun one. Literally, there was technology here way before we got here, way before. And so I think a lot of people have started talking about that. We kind of knew it was there back when I was first talking about this stuff. And then Tartaria pops up way, way, way later. So it's like, no. I mean, they had these cities. These cities existed before we even came into play. Like we came upon them. There was things within them we didn't understand. I mean, no. This isn't new. This has been. We didn't have a cool name for it though. Tartaria is cool, Tartaria and tartar sauce. It's all together. I don't mean, I'm not trying to be mean about it. I pretty much agree with it. I just think it's been sort of hijacked a little bit. And then they said the third part's Wanderers. There's a lot of us. That's you guys, usually, I think. So the Wanderers are you guys. Scoop, semi-spiral. So the pyramid is to be thought of kind of as a funnel, right? Think about a funnel that's roundish and it's got the hole at the end. Like the pyramid, square-shaped, all that, and the angles matter. But it's basically a funnel, and it sucks energy into it. That's kind of what it does. It is like an energy vacuum. And then it funnels it, and it angles it nicely within it. And there's three different energies they talk about. So the scoop, the semi-spiral, that's the first one. Kind of it sucks in. That's what he was talking about. It just sucks in energy. The second one is like what I kind of came to me is like a resonance red spiral, like this spiral that starts to reflect inside. There is a energy. It's like, I mean, if you got a stream going down, you put a rock, it actually affects it. You can see it makes a small current, like it affects upstream. So this, once it gets inside the actual funnel, if you will, it kind of resonates. So I think that's kind of where that second energy comes from. That's my kind of take on it. And then third is the tip, maybe. Just the energy comes out the top. And it's like almost like a beam, like a laser beam almost. So the pyramid's a trippy thing. Now, we will get into one of the things that bums them out is that the pyramid is like they almost wish they never would have put it here. I think it serves a better purpose, but we've gotten overly fixated on it. We've now made it like a deity. You know what I mean? Like there's Jesus and there's God and there's pyramid. You know, like so it's like and probably I guess cows too, in India and there's some other wonderful statues of joy. And finally, they talk about aging and electromagnetic issues. I mean, we're all electromagnetic. And so I kind of thought was the key on that one. Like each one of us needs to understand. So all this Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, all this stuff's not really, really, really good for us, by the way. Not at all. In fact, zero good, in fact. But we do it nonetheless. I got a question, and then we're going to go on to the next one here. We got 60 coming up here in a second. But Pet's a good guy. 1985, of course, that's the Pet that we all wonder about. Question. So wanderers have been here forever. So someone could have been here from the beginning of this cycle. So could that be why some can remember living in Egypt and Atlantis? So I'm gonna take your statement, Pat, and I think I'm gonna do my best to correct it, if you will. This is bad. This is like I was in a play one time and the individual committed suicide after doing this. So hopefully this doesn't go bad like this. That was horrible. It was a great play though. Up the down staircase. But anyway. Question. People, since wanderers have been here forever. Wanderers, here is a weird way to say it. That's not correct, actually. Wanderers have been in a lot of lives all over the place, a lot of different places. So you might have a focus of here. Here is different. Here is the Terran experience, or the secondary group of people, and wanderers were the third group of people. So wanderers come from all over the place. Like we've spent time in the Pleiadian systems, Arcturians and Syrians, or some of us maybe just heavily in another system, and then we came here. But like I think it's a little different than that. You know, so all souls have been here since the beginning, I think. Some of us have done many lives and grown through them quicker too. Like we've evolved more from them, maybe put more hardships in front of us because whatever the case was. So there's a component of that too, like a growth accelerator that happens just based off the individual personality that does that. Let's see. I'm trying to cover everything I can on this, Pet. It's a great question. It's an awesome question. I'm just trying to give it some love. the beginning cycle of this cycle could be who remember living in Egypt and Atlantis. And then the Egypt Atlantis stuff, and maybe even Lemuria. We were here, a lot of us here, and we're part of that. Whoops. Oh, shoot. And Atlantis was kind of a bad one for a lot of us, just to give us not a huge amount of time on it, but Atlantis was just something that we failed. We failed. And we lived through it. We lost everything. And a lot of us came back to make sure we didn't do that again. So there's this weird, like, umph inside of us. It's like, I'm not giving up no matter what. Like, you know, like literally the water's coming in the Titanic and you're like, no, we're getting out of this damn thing. You know, like you just, it's that, like I started at the top, our core. I must make it through this. And every one of us, I think, at least a lot of people in my audience are challenged with that. There's this thing screaming at you and you don't know what to do with it. And I've been trying to help people think of positive ways to focus it too. But that's, I kind of think, I don't know. I mean, to take a long answer to a good question, though. Great question, Pet. All right, guys. So we're going into this next one. This one is our good friend's 60, number 60. It's a little bit longer, 20 minutes, I think. And we'll get some questions on that. And then we'll do, I'll throw a link in. And this will be when I'm closing out the show, just for all you guys. For all you guys, there's 97 people in right now, maybe. When I close out the show, in the comments, I'm going to drop a link to a StreamYard. There's room for, I think, 15 of us. And then you're stuck backstage. Now, I wouldn't give up trying. We're going to go a while, and some people will drop out because, they're there to ask a question and then go. But I don't know. It's a chance to ask crazy questions. So I hope you guys are up for that. If not, there may be like 4 of you there, and it'll be cool. We'll just hang out for, 30 minutes or something like that. So whatever the case is, we'll see. But that will happen from the comment section for the people that are actually kind of involved in this, if you will. That said, here is Law of One, Session 60 on the Fringe. Law of One, Session 60, recorded July 1st, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner, could you first give me an indication of the instrument's condition? Ra, I am Ra. It is as previously stated. Questioner, it is my opinion that the best way for the instrument to improve her condition is through periods of meditation followed by periods of contemplation with respect to the condition and its improvement. Could you tell me if I am correct and expand on my thinking? Ra, I am Ra. Meditation and contemplation are never untoward activities. However, this activity will, in all probability, in our opinion, not significantly alter the predisposition of this instrument, which cause the fundamental distortions which we, as well as you, have found disconcerting. Questioner, can you tell me the best approach for altering to a more acceptable condition the distortions that the instrument is experiencing? Ra, I am Ra. There is some small amount of work which the instrument may do concerning its pre-incarnative decisions regarding service to the infinite creator in this experience. However, the decision to open without reservation to the offering of self when service is perceived is such a fundamental choice that it is not open to significant alteration. Nor would we wish to interfere with the balancing process which is taking place with this particular entity. The wisdom and compassion being so balanced by this recapitulation of fourth density is helpful to this particular mind-body-spirit complex. It is not an entity much given to quibbling with the purity of which it carries out that which it feels is best to do. We may say this due to the instrument's knowledge of itself, which is clear upon this point. However, this very discussion may give rise to a slightly less fully unstopped dedication to service in any one working, so that the service may be continued over a greater period of your space-time. Questioner, you are saying, then, that the physical distortions that the instrument experienced are part of a balancing process? Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is incorrect. The physical distortions are a result of the instruments not accepting fully the limitations placed prior to incarnation upon the activities of the entity once it had begun the working. The distortions caused by this working, which are inevitable given the plan chosen by this entity, are limitations and, to a degree, consonant with the amount of vital and physical energy expended, weariness, due to that which is the equivalent of this instrument's of many, many hours of harsh physical labor. This is why we suggested the instrument's thoughts dwelling upon the possibility of its suggesting to its higher self the possibility of some slight reservation of energy at a working. This instrument at this time is quite open until all resources are quite exhausted. This is well if desired. However, it will, shall we say, shorten the number of workings in which we may call the long run. Questioner: will spreading the workings out over greater intervals of time so that we have more time between workings help? Ra: I am Ra. This you have already done. It is not helpful to your group to become unbalanced by concern for one portion of the group above another. If this instrument is, in your judgment, capable, and if the support group is functioning well, if all is harmonious, and if the questions to be asked have been considered well, the working is well begun. To overly stress the condition of the instrument is as deleterious to the efficiency of this contact as the antithetical behavior was in your past. Questioner: aside from the workings, I am concerned about the physical distortions of the instrument in the areas of hands and arms. Is there a, shall we say, mental exercise or something else that the instrument could work on to help alleviate the extreme problems she has at this time with her hands, etc.? Ra: I am Ra. Yes. Questioner: would this be an exercise of meditation and contemplation upon the alleviation of these problems? Ra: I am Ra. No. Questioner: what would she do then in order to alleviate these problems? Ra: I am Ra. As we have said, this instrument, feeling that it lacked compassion to balance wisdom, chose an incarnative experience whereby it was of necessity placed in situations of accepting self in the absence of other self's acceptance, and the acceptance of other self without expecting a return or energy transfer. This is not an easy program for an incarnation, but was deemed proper by this entity. This entity, therefore, must needs meditate and consciously, moment by moment, accept the self and its limitations which have been placed for the very purpose of bringing this entity to the precise turning we are using. Further, having learned to radiate acceptance and love without expecting return, this entity now must balance this by learning to accept these gifts of love and acceptance of others, which this instrument feels some discomfort in accepting. These two balancing workings will aid this entity in the release from the distortion called pain. The limitations are, to a great extent, fixed. Questioner: is the fact that the instrument already was consciously aware of this the reason that the first distortion was not in force in making it impossible for you to communicate this to us? Ra: I am Ra. This is not only correct for this entity which has been consciously aware of these learned teachings for some of your years, but also true of each of the support group. The possibility of some of this information being offered was not there until this session. Questioner: thank you. When you spoke in the last session of energizing shocks coming from the top of the pyramid, did you mean that these came at intervals rather than steadily? Ra: I am Ra. These energizing shocks come at discrete intervals, but come very, very close together in a properly functioning pyramid shape. In one whose dimensions have gone awry, the energy will not be released with regularity or in quanta, as you may perhaps better understand our meaning. Questioner: the next statement that I make may or may not be enlightening to me in my investigation of the pyramid energy, but it has occurred to me that the so-called effect in this so-called Bermuda Triangle is possibly due to the large pyramid beneath the water, which releases this third spiral at discrete and varying intervals, and when other entities or craft are in the vicinity of this, creates a situation where they change space-time continuum in some way. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. Yes. Questioner. Then this third spiral has an energizing effect that, if strong enough, will actually change the space-time continuum. Is there a use or value to this type of change? Ra. I am Ra. In the hands of one of fifth density or above, this particular energy may be tapped in order to communicate information, love, or light across what you would consider vast distances, but which, with this energy, may be considered transdimensional leaps. Also, there is the possibility of travel using this formation of energy. Questioner. Would this travel be the instantaneous type, having to do with not the slingshot effect, but the effect used primarily by sixth density entities? Or is it the slingshot effect that you are talking about? Ra. I am Ra. The former effect is that of which we speak. You may note that as one learns the, shall we say, understandings or disciplines of the personality, each of these configurations of prana is available to the entity without the aid of this shape. One may view the pyramid at Giza as metaphysical training wheels. Questioner. Then is the large underwater pyramid off the Florida coast one of the balancing pyramids that Ra constructed, or some other social memory complex? And if so, which one? Ra. I am Ra. That pyramid of which you speak was one whose construction was aided by sixth density entities of a social memory complex working with Atlanteans prior to our workings with the, as you call them, Egyptians. Questioner. You mentioned working with one other group other than the Egyptians. Who were they? Ra. I am Ra. These entities were those of South America. We divided our forces to work within these two cultures. Questioner. The pyramid shape, then, as I understand it, was deemed by your social memory complex at that time to be of paramount importance as, shall I say, a physical training aid for spiritual development. At this particular time in the evolution of our planet, it seems that you place little or no emphasis on this shape. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. It is our honor duty to attempt to remove the distortions that the use of this shape have caused in the thinking of your people and in the activities of some of your entities. We do not deny that such shapes are efficacious, nor do we withhold the general gist of this efficacy. However, we wish to offer our understanding, limited though it is, the contrary to our naive beliefs many thousands of your years ago. The optimum shape for initiation does not exist. Let us extend upon this point. When we were aided by sixth density entities during our own third density experience, we, being less bellicose in the extreme, found this teaching to be of help. In our naive and third density, we had not developed the interrelationships for your barter or money system and power. We were, in fact, a more philosophical third density planet than your own, and our choices of polarity were much more centered about the, shall we say, understandings of the sexual energy transfer and the appropriate relationships between self and other self. We spent a much larger portion of our space-time working with the unmanifested being. In this less complex atmosphere, it was quite instructive to have this learned teaching device, and we benefited without the distortions we found occurring among your people. We have recorded these differences meticulously in the great record of creation, that such naivete shall not be necessary again. At this space-time, we may best serve you, we believe, by stating that the pyramid for meditation, along with other rounded and arched or pointed circular shapes, is of help to you. However, it is our observation that due to the complexity of influence upon the unmanifested being at this space-time nexus among your planetary peoples, it is best that the progress of the mind-body-spirit complex take place without, as you call them, training aids, because when using a training aid, an entity then takes upon itself the law of responsibility for the quickened or increased rate of learned teaching. If this greater understanding, if we may use this misnomer, is not put into practice in the moment-by-moment experience of the entity, then the usefulness of the training aid becomes negative. Questioner. Thank you. I don't know if this question will result in any usable direction, but I think I must ask it. The covenant, and what was its use? Ra. I am Ra. The Ark of the Covenant was that place wherein those things most holy, according to the understanding of the one called Moishi, were placed. The articles placed therein has been called by your peoples 2 tablets called the 10 Commandments. There were not 2 tablets, there was one writing in a scroll. This was placed along with the most carefully written accounts by various entities of their beliefs concerning the creation of the one Creator. This ark was designed to constitute the place wherefrom the priests, as you call those distorted towards the desire to serve their brothers, could draw their powers and feel the presence of the one Creator. However, it is to be noted that this entire arrangement was designed not by the one known to the Confederation as Yahweh, but rather was designed by negative entities preferring this method of creating an elite called the Sons of Levi. Questioner: was this a device for communication then? You said they also drew power from it. What type of power? How did it work? Ra: I am Ra. This was charged by means of the material with which it was built being given an electromagnetic field. It became an object of power in this way, and to those whose faith became that untarnished by unrighteousness or separation, this power designed for negativity became positive, and is so to those truly in harmony with the experience of the service to this day. Thus the negative forces were partially successful, but the positively oriented Moishi, as this entity was called, gave to your planetary peoples the possibility of a path to the one infinite Creator, which is completely positive. This is in common with each of your orthodox religion systems, which have all become somewhat mixed in orientation, yet offer a pure path to the one Creator, which is seen by the pure seeker. Questioner: where is the Ark of the Covenant now? Where is it located? Ra: I am Ra. We refrain from answering this query due to the fact that it does still exist and is not that which we would infringe upon your peoples by locating. Questioner: thank you. In trying to understand the energies, creative energies, it has occurred to me that I really do not understand why usable heat is generated as our Earth moves from 3rd into 4th density. I know it has to do with the disharmony between the vibrations of 3rd and 4th density, but why this would show up as physical heating within the Earth is beyond me. Can you enlighten me on that? Ra: I am Ra. The concepts are somewhat difficult to penetrate in your language. However, we shall attempt to speak to the subject. If an entity is not in harmony with its circumstances, it feels a burning within. The temperature of the physical vehicle does not yet rise, only the heat of the temper or the tears, as we may describe this disharmony. However, if an entity persists for a long period of your space-time in feeling this emotive heat and disharmony, the entire body complex will begin to resonate to this disharmony, and the disharmony will then show up as the cancer or other degenerative distortions from which you call health. When an entire planetary system of peoples and cultures repeatedly experiences disharmony on a great scale, the Earth under the feet of these entities shall begin to resonate with this disharmony. Due to the nature of the physical vehicle, disharmony shows up as a blockage of growth or an uncontrolled growth, since the primary function of a mind-body-spirit complex's bodily complex is a growth and maintenance. In the case of your planet, and the purpose of the planet is the maintenance of orbit and the proper location or orientation with regards to other cosmic influences. In order to have this occurring properly, the interior of your sphere is hot in your physical terms. Thus, instead of uncontrolled growth, you begin to experience uncontrolled heat and its expansive consequences. Questioner: is the Earth solid all the way through from one side to the other? Ra: I am Ra. You may say that your sphere is of a honeycomb nature. The center is, however, solid if you would so call that which is molten. Questioner: in the honeycomb nature, are there 3rd density incarnate entities living in the honeycombed areas? Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This was at one time correct. This is not correct at this present space-time. Questioner: and are there any inner civilizations or entities living in these areas that are somewhat of the other than physically incarnate, who do come and materialize on the Earth's surface at times? Ra: I am Ra. As we have noted, there are some which do as you say. Further, there are some inner plane entities of this planet which prefer to do some materialization into third density visible in these areas. There are also bases, shall we say, in these areas of those from elsewhere, both positive and negative. There are abandoned cities. Questioner: what are these bases used for by those from elsewhere? Ra: I am Ra. These bases are used for the work of materialization of needed equipment for communication with third density entities, and for resting places for some equipment which you may call small craft. These are used for surveillance when it is requested by entities. Thus, some of the, shall we say, teachers of the Confederation speak partially through these surveillance instruments along computerized lines, and when information is desired and those requesting it are of the proper vibratory level, the Confederation entity itself will then speak. Questioner: am I to understand, then, that the Confederation entity needs communication equipment and craft to communicate with the third density incarnate entity requesting the information? Ra: I am Ra. This is incorrect. However, many of your peoples request the same basic information in enormous repetition, and for a social memory complex to speak ad infinitum about the need to meditate is a waste of the considerable abilities of such a social memory complexes. Thus, some entities have had approved by the Council of Saturn the placement and maintenance of these message givers for those whose needs are simple, thus reserving the abilities of the Confederation members for those already meditating and absorbing information, which are then ready for additional information. Questioner: there has been for the past 30 years a lot of information and a lot of confusion, and in fact, I would say the law of confusion has been, working overtime, to make a small joke, in bringing information for spiritual catalysts to groups requesting it. And we know that both the positively and the negatively oriented social memory complexes have been adding to this information as they can. This has led to somewhat of a condition of apathy in a lot of cases with respect to the information by many who are truly seeking but have been thwarted by a condition of what I might call spiritual entropy in this information. Can you comment on this and the mechanisms of alleviating these problems? Ra: I am Ra. We can comment on this. Questioner: only if you deem it of importance, I would request a comment. If you feel it unimportant, we'll skip it. Ra: I am Ra. This information is significant to some degree, as it bears upon your own mission at this time. We of the Confederation are at the call of those upon your planet. If the call, though sincere, is fairly low in consciousness of the, shall we say, system whereby spiritual evolution may be participated, then we may only offer that information useful to that particular caller. This is the basic difficulty. Entities receive the basic information about the original thought and the means, that is, meditation and service to others, whereby this original thought may be obtained. Please note that as a Confederation members, we are speaking for positively oriented entities. We believe the Orion Group has precisely the same difficulty. Once this basic information is received, it is not put into practice in the heart and in the life experience, but instead rattles about within the mind complex distortions as would a building block which has lost its place and simply rolls from side to side uselessly. Yet still the entity calls. Therefore, the same basic information is repeated. Ultimately, the entity decides that it is weary of this repetitive information. However, if an entity puts into practice that which it is given, it will not find repetition except when needed. Questioner: thank you. Are the chakras or bodily energy centers related to, or do they operate like the pyramid energy funnel? Ra: I am Ra. No. Questioner: was there a purpose for mummification having to do with anything other than bodily burial? Ra: I am Ra. Much as we would like to speak to you of this distortion of our design in constructing the pyramid, we can say very little, for the intent was quite mixed, and the uses, though many felt them to be positive, were of a non-positive order of generation. We cannot speak upon this subject without infringing upon some basic energy balances between the positive and negative forces upon your planet. It may be said that those offering themselves felt that they were offering themselves in service to others. Questioner: what civilization was it that helped Ra using the pyramid shape while Ra was in third density? Ra. I am Ra. Your people have a fondness for the naming. These entities have begun their travel back to the Creator and are no longer experiencing time. Questioner. The instrument wished to know, when using the pendulum for discovering energy centers, if the back and forth motion meant anything other than the circular motion. Ra. I am Ra. This shall have to be the final question, although this entity is still providing us with energy. It is experiencing the distortion towards pain. The rotations having been discussed, we shall simply say that the weak back and forth motion indicates a partial blockage, although not a complete blockage. The strong back and forth motion indicates the reverse of blockage, which is overstimulation of a chakra or energy center, which is occurring in order to attempt to balance some difficulty in the body or mind complex activity. This condition is not helpful to the entity as it is unbalanced. Are there any brief queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner. Only, is there anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact? Ra. I am Ra. Be merry, my friends. All is well, and your conscientiousness is to be recommended. We leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Rejoice then, and go forth in the peace and in the glory of the one infinite Creator. I am Ra. Adonai. Guys, I'm glad we're back. So many aspects to this particular section. I didn't really plug it properly. I had a bunch of notes, and we'll get to them in a second. I guess prior to going to the questions, I've got some great questions queued up, at least 2 so far. So we've got a few things to cover, and then we're going to do a StreamYard link and see who makes it. That's going to be like, I don't know, like 10, 15 of you max. Some of you backstage, some of you on screen. I mean, you're not going to be on screen. We're not going to be broadcasting just to diffuse that possible issue. It's just going to be hanging out after the show. After the show is done broadcasting. Okay, all said. Offering self to harm. So I've got a note here. Many of us are all about, like, I'm going to do this no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. Like I've talked about that core of our soul, like that no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. And the problem is you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to injure yourself. You're going to get sick. We have to learn that balance. Know thyself. It's so important. And many of us, oh, it's only going to be 3 more months, or it's only going to be till the election. And then it goes longer than that. It's know thyself. Be able to do it daily, but know when you're starting to fade. Like if you, like me, I've been sleeping a little extra. Just if you need to do it. You might have a rule that's not the greatest thing, like Trump. Oh my God. He doesn't sleep at all, supposedly. That's not what I can do right at the moment. So know thyself. Don't push past what you can do. One thing that's happening with this group, and it's one of the things I think I don't mean this to sound bad, but I think it's part of what got Carla super sick. When you're dealing with higher energies, and this is something I'm aware of, by the way, getting into this, guys, like this is part of what when you get into things that actually matter and really can change your trajectory, if you will, you will be attacked by the dark, the 3-dimensional, 3rd density dark, but you will. You just will. Can I protect myself? Of course you can. Is weird stuff going to happen? Yes. So understand, I'm sitting here holding crystals. Yeah. Just understand that. This is not something this isn't magic either. It's that I'm talking about something that's so important to the big picture that they don't like it. So keep that in mind. We're making a difference. You guys are the ripple makers. So the wobble of this group started happening, and I think Carla got sick because of it. And I think it was one of the failures that I started to see when I was reading the material the first time. I'm like, oh man, it seems like this group started to really come apart. And it does, I think. It's just important. It's something to keep in mind. I don't know, maybe I'm just looking too deep, right? That's possible. Physical heating of the earth. They're talking about what we're going through right now. I think there's something significant that we're going through right now. I think it is showing a number of significant markers. Schumann resonance is definitely weird. A lot of people think it's because of it's. I think we're misunderstanding what's causing the Schumann resonance. We're a part of that for sure. Sure, man. Like, there's no question that we're part of that. I just don't think it's caused the way that people talk about. But we have something going on. I think we've got visitors coming. I really do. I don't think it's like 3-Eye Atlas type visitor. I think they're trying to take advantage, screw with. I think we've got a little time, and I don't know what that is. Months? Let's say months. Let's kind of months area. We got months of time, weeks of time. Yeah, that sounds better. Weeks. No one is doing anything for you. I wrote this down. Without resistance. So if something's being done on your behalf, there's a resistance. There's money. It hurts. There's something. If you're using something for a gain, you're going to get resistance from it. And this is part of how I think we're going to move through our daily reality. We're going to move through the how we navigate our daily lives, right? Like we're always trying to get things done. We're always trying to do things as easy as possible and facilitate that. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we understand there's a giving that goes back. This kind of goes back to the make sure you just get enough sleep and stuff like that. But there's a giving that goes back. Nothing is for free, is my point. Nothing is for free. Everything has kind of a grinding alternate action to it, no matter what. So just know that. It's like, oh, that was a tough one. And they were talking about namings. Oh, and then I was laughing. The namings. We always want to name things. We always want like to know when. We always like, it's just a weird, like we want, who's the name of this person? Who is I am that I am? Like we are very weird in that regard here. And so understand name, and that's why a lot of people give me crap. I can't remember names, but they don't matter. Names really don't matter. None of us really, I mean, I call myself Dan, but it doesn't matter. I am that I am. You know, that's what matters. Who you demonstrate yourself as is what matters, and not what you claim to be. That doesn't matter. All right. We had some questions. I got Pet. I'm now able to share this. I hope that's visible. I don't know if that's true. But yeah, question. Oof, it's not cool. Pet's way down here at the bottom. That doesn't work well. Anyway, Pet, question. I'll read it over here. Like me and my... Hang on, that's not him. Somewhere he's up here. Question. So the pyramid shape is only an aid, and those who has mastered the powers of it, they don't even need the pyramid to do the same thing. Yes, that's easier than trying to find you. Yes, for sure. The pyramid shape, the crystal, I'm just doing it because it's live and it's helping me. It's not needed. And soon it won't even be. It's right here. I can put it down, but I can feel this one's heating up, man. Like this, the left hand is. So again, it's helping me. And right now I'll take the training wheels. I'm trying to pass on some what I consider to be some of the most important information type stuff, genre that exists. That I don't think anything else is even close to as important. So I is weird. So I'm doing my best on that. pyramid shape. I think the shape matters. They talk about the angles you shouldn't do, and that's like for a lot of us, that's like, oh, you should definitely do it. And the one small thing I'm going to share, okay? When I was younger, and I was reading, I don't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. At the end of it, I realized my consciousness, what I declare to the universe, mattered most. If I say, this is what I am, the power of I am, the I am statement. And I made a declaration. And that declaration set me off on a path that was far from easy. So just to tell people, hey, this is what you should do. Most people are not smart enough to realize, am I ready to do this? They should ask yourself questions, because don't just get excited to jump down the spiritual path. You will be surprised how painful it can be. So yes, and I'm not saying that's what Pet's doing by any snack, any situation here. All right, we get this snacks person. See if I can actually do this. It's bumming me out that I can't easily share. It's supposed to happen. All right, so whatever the hell. Snacks with facts. I like this question. In my dreams, as of late, on repeat, I am referred to by this orb that follows me everywhere by starseed. What do you think this means? Well, starseed's a term that's very common. I mean, you could look that up. Actually, there's a lot of stuff with starseed that is tough. Sorry, I was looking at some of the chat. That's why I don't. Chat's just distracting. Starseed is something that I think goes back to what a lot of us are, wanderers as well. We're coming from other places. We are beings that come from other realities, other star systems, there's Pleiadians, Sirians, Lyrians, Arcturians. There's all these different, and then there's what is always talked about as the Orions. They're kind of the area, the Orion belt area is the sort of not so good people. Again, none of these things are black and white. There's not 100%, but this is the general thing that's floating around out there. And we are in this transition that's happening with the consciousness of this lower level planet, the planet itself on the ground. There's all this stuff happening in space too, but that's not really, not necessarily 100% our problem here at the moment for a lot of us, right? Like we're trying to deal with the lower level stuff. And so this is playing out how it is. I feel like I'm so distracted by the chat. I apologize. It's really hard to pull down info when you're looking at chat. Anyway, all said, snacks with facts. I went way beyond. All right, so here's the thing. Let's see if I can share this. We'll do this and we'll close out. I'll do a closeout, and then I'm actually going to share. There it is. Yeah, boom. I'm actually going to share the link while the closing's happening. And if you make it in there, cool. And if you don't, cool. And we'll do it. This doesn't cost any money, but only a few people are going to make it in. And I have nothing to do with that. But I'm going to share with you guys. That said, I love you guys. We are going to continue to move forward with Law 1. I'm sorry if I feel like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of what we've done, we're talking about Pet. Like, I don't remember what I said, Pet. Yeah, so whatever. Hope it's okay. Law 1, sessions 59 and 60. More to come. Certainly where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of Peace, where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.